from his studios in New York, it's time for Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Here's your host, Dan Tortora.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. And for those of you that know that we have joined the live video world this year with Facebook Live, facebook.com/live-now-dt. Thank you to everybody that's watching this morning. You are amazing watching every single day, and we continue to push the envelope with this, with the video, with having the Charneys as our live studio partner. Charney's on 3150 Erie Boulevard East in Syracuse, New York for menswear and tuxedos, so much more. Literally anything you need as a man is there. And then we started doing our sidebar here where you have all of our topics from the top all the way down, going in order of what we have coming up on the show. And of course, our ticker that's been here with us. So we continue to raise the bar, push that envelope, and make this something truly special, exciting to watch and listen to every single opportunity that we get on the air. So thank you so much for being a part of it. And like I said, you're tuning in live Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on facebook.com/live-now-dt and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. And then you can always search the audio files by searching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on MixLR's archive feed, because they have an archive and the live feed that you're listening to. Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, Podbean, YouTube, iTunes podcasts, and the RSS feed. You can also ask that wonderful Alexa to play Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and she will do that for you as well. So, with that being said, we continue our week to kickoff here with Cole Murphy, and very excited to have Cole on to the show today, coming to us from California, and very much appreciate his time and being a part of the show. He was with us recently here speaking on his career, and now he's here with us on week to kickoff to speak on this Syracuse team. And there's no better way to kick off the season than with a kicker that had so much success at Syracuse. Mr. Cole Murphy, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm doing very well. And Cole, you know, just kind of first and foremost, catch us up. I know that you had an opportunity out there with the Arizona Cardinals and whatnot, and you did a combine after that, and are working from here to, you know, find a place and, you know, a fit and whatnot. Just how things have been going in the world of the NFL and football, and just catching us up on what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did really well this offseason. I was with the AAF for a little bit, and then when that league fell apart, I ended up going to another combine run by Gary Zahner. Won the whole thing, and then the day after I got signed by the Arizona Cardinals. And yeah, so I was there for a few months. I was training against Dane Gonzalez, and you know, he and I looked both really solid. I got released because of some roster restrictions. They needed some extra offensive linemen, and you know, usually the first guy to go is backup kicker. So yeah, so since then I've just been kind of training. I've been driving down from LA to Carlsbad, which is about a 2-hour drive roughly. I'm actually on my way down there right now to get some training in with John Charney, who is one of the best kickers in the history of the NFL. He's number 5 all-time in points scored for any player. So yeah, I've just been working like crazy, training to try to find my next team.
So, you know, for you, like you said, you know, winning that combine, getting the opportunity with the Arizona Cardinals, and now training with John Charney, who I remember very, very well growing up. And, you know, it's I kind of got spoiled in seeing the kickers that, you know, I had as I grew up and watched the NFL and whatnot. So, you know, just what you can say about this whole road. What did the Arizona Cardinals opportunity teach you kind of first and foremost?
Well, it kind of let me test the waters a little bit and kind of just see what the NFL was like. Luckily, because I had that experience there beforehand, it was actually a little bit more chaotic than Arizona. So going in there, I was a little bit more prepared than I thought I was going to be. It was a fantastic opportunity to get out there and really just kind of see what the NFL is like, see how all the scheduling goes. And thankfully, you know, Zing's also a fantastic guy. I was kind of worried because John had told me, he's like, hey, you know, when you go into these camps and you're a rookie, you know, they kind of treat you like crap. So be prepared for it, and you know, just be aware that you're going to be the bottom guy on the totem pole. You're going to have to do all the work. You're going to have to be the guy that carries out the ball bag. You're going to have to do all this other stuff. But when I got there, Zane and Aaron Brewer and Andy Lee, who are all the specialists there, were just amazing. They were really great. And the entire time they said, hey, stick right by us. We'll show you the entire way how this all goes. We're all equals here. We're not here to make you do all the hard extra work just because you're the new guy. So it was a great opportunity just to kind of work my way in through the door and see what it's like. And yeah, now whatever team I'm with next, now I feel like I'm really prepared. And I feel like I'm going to know exactly what to do when I get there.
So having that better experience and having that piece of it and whatnot, and being able to get that get that kind of under your belt and whatnot. What can you say about Arizona? I know you got to spend a little bit of time there, but there's so much around this Arizona team now because they got rid of Rosen without really trying him out that much. They brought in a guy like Kyler Murray. Obviously they have the talent of David Johnson. They brought in one of the former XU guys that obviously we appreciate in Dante Strickland. So, there's some Syracuse flavor there. Obviously, there's the veteran status of Larry Fitzgerald. There's the media frenzy around Kyler Murray. So, what was Arizona like?
Quite honestly, I loved it there. Phoenix is a great town, and I think they really support the team. The team, quite honestly, looks fantastic, too. Obviously, that was the only team I've been with in the NFL, but from what I can tell, they look fantastic. It didn't really look like they were in any turmoil. They didn't look like they were, the team that did the worst in the NFL this last year. They look really solid, and they look like they knew what they were doing. Coach Kingsbury really, he has a good grip on what he wants to do, and I think Kyler Murray is going to be a fantastic quarterback for them. Obviously there's a lot of the issues with him being undersized and all that other stuff, but, his athletic ability, in my opinion, makes up for it, and then some.
Absolutely, and I'm excited to see what they can do, and I'm excited for that insight because I think that's one of the teams that people really want to know about and are kind of circling right now is that Arizona team and what they can be. As we speak here with Cole Murphy on our official Week 2 kickoff, we have our former Syracuse kicker Cole Murphy on the broadcast with Syracuse's first game coming up this Saturday, August 31st at 6 p.m. at Liberty. We have another fellow kicker here that's written into the show, and Eric said Cole has an NFL quality leg. I know things didn't work out with Arizona. Is there any consideration for the XFL or the CFL until the next NFL opportunity presents himself? He had that question for you today.
There absolutely is. I think those are two great leagues that, they're a great gateway to get into the NFL. I think the XFL is going to be more of a viable option because in Canada there's a couple few restrictions. One of them being, you need to have a certain percent of your team has to be Canadian. So I would have to do kicking and punting, which I can do. It's just I would rather stick to, my strong suit than having to work on both. And quite honestly, when you convert the pay from Canadian currency to dollars, if you're making the minimum, it's not very much. Whereas the XFL, at least, you're making double. And, and on top of that, you're in the USA, you can be, if I have a week off, I can go home and I can hang out with my family in LA, or, it's a little bit of a better situation in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I think they're both great opportunities. And, I'm open to every single option. Obviously the end game is the NFL, but I'll take anything I can get at this point, especially because, I've been out for a year and I'm trying to just work my way in,
No, absolutely. And, the XFL, and they obviously just, they released their logos and they released, the names and whatnot and what this, what it's all going to look like and what these pieces are going to be. The great thing about it is somebody asked me that when does the season start, and it officially starts the Sunday right after the Super Bowl. So there literally there's no break. It starts right after Super Bowl Sunday, so there's no Sunday without football, and it runs through March Madness and has the championship game in April. We know there's teams in Tampa Bay with the Vipers. Los Angeles has the Wildcats. I know you're out in California. Seattle has the Dragons not too far away. Houston Roughnecks, the DC Defenders, the Dallas Renegades, the St. Louis Battlehawks, the New York Guardians. are all the teams inside of this, starting off with 8 teams. Do you have excitement toward this, feeling toward the XFL? I mean, they tried to do it once. Vince McMahon is behind it now, who did so much with the WWE. And so, there's teams in big cities. They're all over the place. 2 of those cities aren't too far away from you. Just, your overall thoughts on what the XFL could possibly be and kind of going on the opportunity for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great opportunity for anybody who wants to play there. I think, they got to learn their past mistakes from, their first season back in, I think, 2003. But they also got to learn from the mistakes of the AAF that was last year. They've got a lot of stuff going that's going the right way. And they've kind of figured out, what works, what doesn't work. And one thing that they have that the AAF didn't have is the right financial backing. The owner of the WWE actually put in all of his money personally into it instead of relying on a bunch of different financial backers. That way, they know 3 years. And that, quite honestly, just makes it so much easier because we don't have to worry about, what if somebody backs out and they pull out all their money? Players won't get paid. We can't pay for jerseys or the field time or the TV contracts or anything like that. Now they've actually got the backing where they can count on it for at least a couple years. So I think it's going to be a great opportunity. The only thing with that, though, is they've just got to make sure that it works. Because if it doesn't work, this is kind of the third strike for spring leagues or developmental teams. And if this one doesn't work, I think it's going to be a long time before we see another one.
Yeah, and that's the hard part. You brought up 3 years and cut out for a second there just to go back to that, just what you could say about that, kind of security of, like you said, making sure that people get paid.
Yeah, I think that's really one of the biggest things is that they've just got the backing to where they're able to consistently pay the players. They don't need to worry about a certain player or a certain, financial backer pulling their money. That really kind of, it gives a certain level of trust, in my opinion. And on top of that, you've got to make sure that this league's going to last. If it doesn't last, I think there's going to be a long time before we see another spring league or developmental league pop up because this is kind of like the third strike.
Speaking here with Cole Murphy, Syracuse Orange alum, a kicker for the Syracuse Orange in their history, and obviously a professional kicker now. Before we get into some things about the team this season in the 2019 season, what's coming up, Cole, I do kind of want to keep with what you were talking about. You said you spent some time in the AAF. That's something that had folded, and you talk about the XFL knowing that they have some financial backing and people can't pull out, that they're going to have what they need, at least for a little bit of time. What was your experience in the AAF like, as I know that they were obviously trying to get that going and rolling and find some consistency, and there was big-name coaches behind it. Just what your take was from being a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed being there. It was a league that had some hiccups, and it's expected. It's a first-year startup league, and, during our training camp when we were in San Antonio, there were a lot of things that were kind of last minute where they'd say, hey, we're finishing practice. We got to go over to the convention center because we got to meet with the owner of the league. And, I mean, that happened, I think, probably 3 or 4 times. And, obviously when we went there, they were trying to talk about the big things that were going to happen, and they were being very positive and whatnot. But you could kind of tell, it wasn't quite as organized as we thought it was going to be. But, it's partially just because it's a new league. I think it was a great opportunity, and I'm really glad I was able to do it. And I'm really thankful for Dave Bowler for giving me the opportunity to do it, too. So I think it was a good experience. I think it was inevitable eventually that something was going to happen with that league just because everything was so last minute and unplanned, and people just weren't sure about it.
And for you, just what you can say about, for the people that don't know, where you signed and where you played, and then, kind of directly maybe what that experience was like.
Yeah, sure. So I was signed with the San Diego Fleet. It's about 3 hours south of LA, so it was pretty close to home. Dave Bowler, who was our old player personnel guy at Syracuse, was the general manager there. And their head coach was Mike Martz, who I believe he was with the Rams when they won the Super Bowl about 20 years ago, something like that. But, yeah, I mean, it was a great staff, and it was a great team. And that was kind of the sad part was, honestly, if we could have moved that entire San Diego Fleet team to LA Wildcats, I think they would have been really successful. But it's just, it just wasn't meant to be. And, it was a great league. It was a great team, but unfortunately it just didn't work out.
Absolutely, and to get that experience and be a part of it, you've been out there, and at least, people get to continue to see you play and see what you've done in building to where you are right now. So, as this comes about, it's so hard. I've talked about it before. It's going to be a kicker in the NFL or a punter or a long snapper. When we look at some of these positions, guys, if you do a good job as a kicker, then you just kind of last forever. These are guys that might be there for 12 years, 15 years, 20, for goodness sakes. The Gary Andersons and the Morton Andersons and the Adam Vinatieri's and what he's been able to do and his longevity. So the Nick Novaks, who always kind of find their place somewhere in the league. So just, what you can say about kind of cracking that and getting an opportunity there. There's kickers that have a ton of longevity and stick around forever, but with moving that extra point back, there's obviously been some misses, and the percentages have gone down. So we have actually seen that kickers do lose their jobs more often than before. Maybe 3, 4, 5 a season might lose their job. Then there's some injuries. So just, how you navigate through the waters of the fact that more opportunities do open up than maybe they used to. But at the same time, it's a really tough job to get into when so many players have a chokehold on the team that they're on.
Exactly. Like you just said, it's a lot easier to get your foot in the door now because of that. Because of the longer PAT, you don't really get a warm-up shot. But because of that, there's a lot more rotation of jobs. And so it's easier to get in, but it's harder to stay in. It's kind of an interesting gig, as an NFL kicker. You go in, and let's say you're trying out against a veteran, right? You're going for a workout. You both go 9 for 10. And what they're going to do probably about 90% of the time is they're going to go with the veteran because he has game experience. And so that's one of the hard parts is, you can't get a job without experience, but you can't get experience without a job. So it's kind of this fight back and forth. And most of these guys that are able to come in right now, like Matt McCrane or Zane Gonzalez or, some of these newer guys, usually what they're doing is they're getting good preseason film. And then from there, that's kind of where they usually get released by their team. And then from there, they kind of figure out, okay, well, if this guy messes up, we can call that team and we can say, okay, my guy did really well in the preseason. Let's see what he can do in the regular season. And so that's kind of where most of the time these guys are kind of fitting in. Matt McCrane, I think, is a great example. Last year, it was his first year out, and he was with 3 different teams. He was with the Cardinals, the Raiders, and the Steelers. And, he works his tail off, and you can tell he did really well in the preseason, and he definitely earned those spots. But not every guy is that fortunate in terms of their timing and getting in there so quick. So, I just have to wait my time. And as long as I'm keeping my training up and I'm doing well and I go out there and I continue to do as well as I have been doing the last few combines and camps, eventually I'm going to find a job. But, it's all about what are you doing for me right now. So I just got to make sure once I get in the door, I got to make sure I'm keeping up, I'm doing my job, and staying above 85%.
Yeah, absolutely. And for you, speaking here with Cole Murphy, Syracuse Orange alum and former kicker on the team, to look at what they have right now as you continue your career, and obviously blessings and positive energy and prayers sent that way toward that. With the current Syracuse team, we have Andre Schmidt, and Andre Schmidt will actually be joining the show this week. He is the only kicker in Syracuse football history to win the Lou Groza Award for the nation's top kicker, which is surprising because there's been so many great kickers that have come through the program, and obviously in recent history, Cole, you've been a great asset to the team. Andre's been strong. Guys like Nate Trout and Gary Anderson and so on and so forth have been truly amazing inside of the grand scheme of things with Syracuse as far as putting that ball through the uprights. So what can you say about Andre Schmidt? He obviously has some time left here at Syracuse and went from a walk-on and came in and earned his starting job. And I remember last fall, everybody's like, who's this Andre Schmidt guy that's on the depth chart as number 1? And Dino just kept talking about numbers. We grade him, we go through the numbers. He had the best grade, so we're going to let him play. And then he ends up being the nation's top kicker. Just what your thoughts are about that.
Yeah, Andre's a fantastic kid, and he's a great talent. He's a really, really good kicker. It's funny. When I was a senior and he was a true freshman, you could see that there was something there, and you could see he was getting close to developing. It was just that he needed time to kind of marinate and learn just a little bit longer. And he's one of those cases where, kind of like Roberto Aguayo, where nobody knew who he was his true freshman year, and then all of a sudden he comes out and he's sat behind somebody and he learns for a full year and he develops his skills. And all of a sudden he comes out and he absolutely kills it. I think he's just a fantastic kicker, and quite honestly, I think he could do it again. He could be, I believe, the second person to ever do it. The only other person to win it twice was Janikowski, I believe. But I have all the faith in the world in the kid. Last year, I tried to talk to him before and after every game just to, just let him know that the alumni support him and that we've got his back. Syracuse has had a great history of kickers, and he's definitely in line to keep that tradition up. And quite honestly, he's got 3 more years. I think he's going to do really, really well. And even when he's done, I think he'll do a great job at teaching whoever's going to come after him.
So you got to spend some time, in the tutelage of Andre Schmidt. You said you tried to talk to him as much as you possibly could. You saw something in him. What did you say to him? What were the conversations like? What can you share with us about, veteran Syracuse kicker Cole Murphy speaking with the young gun Andre Schmidt before you left?
I think his biggest thing when he first got there was he was a little too loosey-goosey. He when he swung, it was kind of all over the place, and he wasn't really quite dialed in. And then when you go and you look at his game film, I think, it could just be one of those things where maybe he's just a gamer. He goes in there, and all of a sudden he tenses up that extra 5 or 10%, and it just makes him money. That was kind of the big thing the entire year I was with him, was he was a little too relaxed, and he wasn't quite getting the pop on the ball that he wanted because he was so relaxed. But once he figured it out and he was able to kind of, dial it in and hit that pure ball, there really weren't many guys in the country that could hit a better ball than him. And, case in point is when we were at Pittsburgh this last year, he hit a 54-yarder in one of the hardest stadiums in the NFL. And it just goes to show he's got a tremendous level of talent.
Yeah, and as he moves forward, obviously, hopefully more success as Syracuse's special teams unit getting a lot of publicity, which we obviously know, special teams in general should have it and deserves it. There's 3 phases to the game, and we talk about 2 so much when the other phase, that special teams phase, is the one that declares a lot of things. Where does the other team start on the field? Where do you start on the field? Can you win a game from 54 yards away? Can you rely on that? And obviously with Sterling Hoffrichter as a tremendous punter for the team, and before that, with guys like Rob Long and so on and so forth. There's been a lot of success in that respect as well in Syracuse's history. So, and then the returners like Nykeem Johnson and Sean Riley, a lot of positives to say about that. Cole, you've been connected to this team, so obviously, some of those guys and the Sean Rileys returning the ball and Nykeem Johnsons and whatnot. What can you say about Syracuse's special teams unit as a whole, with a guy like Sterling Hoffrichter as your punter and, your kickoff guy, and then having returners like Nykeem Johnson and Sean Riley that are, both around 5'7", 5'8", really scrappy, really quick? Just what you think about the special teams unit this year for Syracuse?
Quite honestly, I feel like we have the best special teams unit in the country. We've got, like we said earlier, we got Andre Schmidt, we've got Sterling, who consistently has been just one of the best punters in the country. His numbers have always been near the top, and he just consistently hits a great ball. I think that we could possibly have one of the best special teams units in the country. If we're not the best, I could see us being top 3. And, if they're above us, any team in the country, I think that they have to have a phenomenal group of specialists. Because what we've got historically and what we've got right now is just top of the line. It's really top of the line.
Yeah, and obviously some big words coming from you, and it's something that's been talked about by others as well, that Syracuse could have the best special teams unit in the country this season, as we continue the conversation with Cole Murphy live from the Charney's Menswear and Tuxedo Studios here on 3150 Erie Boulevard East in Syracuse, New York. Cole, before I let you go, biggest positive on this year's team for Syracuse and biggest question mark? What do you have for both of those?
Biggest positive, I've got to say, is the special teams unit. I got to show our specialists some love. We're coached by Justin Lustig, who, in my opinion, he's one of my favorite coaches I've ever had, because one of those guys that he loves to learn, and he loves to show the energy that he knows what he's talking about, and when he doesn't, he wants to learn. He's really eager, and he's really just a great coach. So on top of us having a great special teams unit, we're coached extremely well by Coach Babers and by Coach Lustig. Biggest question mark? I'd have to say this one's a weird one because it's a question mark, but it's got a pretty solid answer already. I think it's going to be the quarterback play. We had Eric for 4 years. He did super well. And the only thing we've really seen from Tommy is maybe one full game when he went to Florida State and we went in against Notre Dame. But having said that, I think he has shown that he's going to be a fantastic quarterback. So I think it's the biggest question, but I think we've got a pretty good idea of what it's going to be without knowing, going into game one.
Yeah, and obviously, having somebody that has some experience out there and has helped the team win some games is obviously a huge piece to what's going on here for, the Syracuse Orange team. Yes, it's a new quarterback as a starter, but it's a guy who has been out there before, which provides some positives because it's not an officially shifting over to somebody who's had no experience in the ACC or in college football. Another piece of this before we let you go here, speaking with Cole Murphy, Syracuse football alum, in our official week to kickoff, speaking with Syracuse football alumni all week long here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We've had Rob Carpenter, we've had this morning Eric Kroom, we've also had Darius Kelly. Cole Murphy's with us right now. Rob Long will be joining, as well as Zach Mahoney, Rob Conrad, Will Hunter, Danny Conley, all be joining us this week on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora as we do it truly differently here every single day that we are on the broadcast. So, Cole, for you, when we look at the schedule, their first game is this Saturday, August 31st at Liberty. Then they'll be at Maryland from there, and then they have a 3-game home stint. They'll be facing off against the likes of Clemson, and then moving on to Western Michigan at home and Holy Cross. They'll be at NC State, and then be home against Pittsburgh, at Florida State, home against Boston College, at Duke, at Louisville, and their final game of the regular season will be home against Wake Forest. What are your thoughts on overall, record this season? What's your take on how you think they'll finish?
I think on the low end, I think they could go 8-4. I think on the high end, I would say 10-2. I think those are pretty accurate numbers. I think, obviously Clemson, I think that they underestimated us a couple times. I think they're really going to want to come in and just show us, hey, we're the national champions for a reason. So I think that game is going to be a really tough one to win. It's doable, but it's definitely going to be tough. And, throughout the season, I'll give maybe one game where we just aren't on our A game. But other than that, I think we're very solid, and I think this year's schedule is a little bit easier than last year's, and I think that we can definitely get to 10-2.
Yeah, there's a lot of positives here. I got them at 8 wins, looking at the fact that the offensive line has really shifted, and, everybody's playing a different position than they had been playing for the most part, as far as, the fact that Aaron Service told me that they had been moving all throughout the offensive line, that nobody really had a declared spot because they were trying to figure out who looked best where. And so, I think that that's something I'm going to look to is the offensive line and guys stepping up, on that depth chart, guys that we haven't seen a ton of, like Dakota Davis at right guard or Carlos Vettorello at right tackle, Sam Heckles back at center, Evan Adams, who spent a lot of time at right guard, is now the left guard. Aaron Service, who came into camp as the center, is now the left tackle. So I'll be paying attention to that, and obviously to Tommy DeVito. And then on the defensive side, to that linebacker core that's lost a lot of their leadership over the past couple seasons. And now it's time for guys like senior Andrew Armstrong and Lakeem Williams, who transferred over to really show what they could do. And Trill Williams is, playing that nickel and obviously roving around and whatnot. So that's going to be an important piece of it, as well as he had a lot of success as a true freshman. So I'll be watching that. But, the special teams unit's been there. The running backs may be deeper than they've been in a very long time. The wide receivers are young and fast. So there's a lot of positives to look to. The defensive line is strong. The safeties and the corners had success last year. So, I really feel like if this team comes back and does well what they were doing well, and then we can see Tommy DeVito, flourish and really come out firing on day zero, and then from there, see this offensive line really step up their game and show what they can do, and then the linebacker core, then I think that this team, the sky's the limit. I got them at 8 wins because there are some question marks, but from there, I do think that they could get more depending on how they face off, at Liberty and at Maryland. If they come home 2-0 and they feel good and they got Clemson, and the last time they had Clemson inside of the Dome, they went and defeated the reigning national champion, and now here's Clemson again, the reigning national champion, and they're coming back to the Dome. So, I think that it's, Syracuse definitely has an opportunity to really be something even more special than last year this year, but you got to focus, and you got to take it game by game. Any words of advice to this team as we close here, Cole? They are now ranked in the top 25 preseason in the AP and the coaches poll. That hasn't happened in forever. They're picked to finish second behind Clemson in the Atlantic Division, which is exactly where I picked them when we voted as members of the ACC media. So the majority of the media agreed with me that they should be second, and they're ranked in the top 25 in the preseason. They're going in with hype. They're going in with the nation looking at them. They're going in with some respect. They're going in with an improved kind of, in the eyes of some people that maybe overlook them, those people are now paying attention. Words of advice to a team that snuck up on people last year and was expected to do nothing, now being a team where so many people are zeroing in and focused and have given them some respect.
The biggest thing I could tell them is to just ignore all the crowd noise. Ignore every little bit. It doesn't matter what you're ranked. It doesn't matter what the other team is ranked. It doesn't matter if you win or lose in the public's eye. Here's the thing. If you lose a game, suddenly all the hype goes away. And if you acknowledge that, then you're going to have a harder time. If you stay on track and you focus on your own team and not what everybody else says, they're going to do really, really well. But if they start to listen to all the hype, they start to listen to every little voice that gives an opinion, they're going to start to waver. So I think they just need to stay on track and not look anywhere except for right straight ahead of whatever game they're going to play that week.
Yeah, and that's great advice, to never look ahead and just focus on the task at hand. And obviously everybody wants to talk about Clemson, but the task at hand right now is Liberty, and that game is on the road. So with that being said, Cole, I want to thank you for being a part of the show. I think it's tremendous that you're working with John Charney, who spent over 20 years in the NFL as a kicker, spent a lot of time with the San Diego Chargers, and obviously a bunch of time where a lot of people remember him with the New Orleans Saints. So obviously God bless with everything going on with that, and I'm hopeful that we'll see you sign with somebody and get an opportunity. And no matter what, you can always know that you have a post here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and on the air, off the air, you've been a great person toward me. So I just want to establish my gratitude for that, and thank you for that, and send you my best as you continue to embark on this career that you have.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this, and always love talking with you, man.
Well, I'm hoping for big news and big things and everything to work out all right, and it's right back at you. I love speaking with you as well, and just very proud of the fact that I was born and raised in this city, and so many good people have come here and been a part of this program that I've gotten to meet. And you've put on orange, which, obviously on the football team, but for somebody who was born and raised in Syracuse, it's very heartwarming to keep in touch with people that came through this city and did right by the city. So thank you for that.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much.